Hey YouTube! So coming to you guys from kind of a different angle today. Uh, so I wanted to talk a little bit more because people keep asking me like, why are you so against the liberal platform, and why do you identify as more conservative? Even though I really think of myself more as a moderate with conservative leanings, but I definitely don't think of myself as a liberal. And I already made a video where I talked about part of the reason why I don't follow liberal ideology, but that was more like personal why I don't do it. But now I kind of wanted to do a video where I just wanted to talk about the fact that besides my own personal opinion on why I am not a liberal, I also wanted to talk about the fact why I just in general think the liberal platform does not make sense. So to do so, I created this little chart here. There's probably a really cool, interesting way I could do this interactively, but I've told you guys many times that I am not a technology guy, so I'm doing it old school. All right. So basically, I put liberals in the middle, and around it, I put a lot of things that the liberals say that they generally support, or things that are part of the liberal platform, things that liberals in general agree with. So the Liberal Party generally thinks of itself as the party for women, right? They support women's rights. They want to promote women. They want to possibly get quotas of how many women you have to hire. A lot of things that are going on in Hollywood now is really in support of women, women directors, women as the main role. You know, the whole Me Too movement is also, things are really heavily supported by liberals. And by the way, I'm not saying that I agree or don't agree with any of this. This right now is only purely to say what is the platform, and then I'm going to say what the problems are, in my opinion. Or rather, actually, not just in my opinion, but yeah, what legitimately the problems are of the liberal platform, where the logic falls apart. All right? Liberals are generally the party of gays and lesbians. You know, the far right, they blatantly say that they're not pro-gay marriage, that they don't believe things. This is gays and lesbians predominantly are Democrats, or predominantly liberals. You know, the Liberal Party is the one that pushed gay marriage. Thank you for that. They are the ones who are generally just more supportive of helping with possibly getting adoption and just gay rights in general. And the Liberal Party is generally the party of the black community in the U.S. Liberals support such things as welfare. They also they were predominantly the ones that supported affirmative action and other things that are considered positive aspects of the black community. The Liberal Party is also the party that generally wants universal health care, social health care. They're the ones that were really pushing for Obamacare and all this kind of stuff to go through so that we can have health care for everybody. Liberals are generally the party for the trans community. Now they're really trying to push things about having to legalize different pronouns, getting people to use pronouns according to what trans people want. I think it was Colorado that just passed a law that said you are legally trans and protected from the moment that you claim this position, that you claim yourself as trans, then the law has to protect you under trans laws. Liberals have also become the party that really are in support of Muslims and Islam and trying to keep people from saying that they're all terrorists or to kind of go against them. They're trying to create the right of Muslims to wear Muslim garb, even in the US, if they feel so in public. And just in general, they're more likely to go against any kind of ideas that Muslims are terrorists or whatever. Liberals are also generally the ones who are part of the body positivity movement. You know, not every woman is a size 2. They're trying to get away from fat shaming, trying to get away from, you know, unrealistic body standards and all these kind of things. And liberals are generally the party that are pro-immigration, they try to simplify immigration, they're against the wall being built. They want a lot of, especially people who are already living in country, generally they are for amnesty for these people, and a lot of other things, you know, regarding to immigration. All right, so far, all of the things I've said, you know, they all sound really positive, and actually, for the most part, not all of them, this over here I'm not so sure about, this over here I'm not so sure about on a personal level, but overall I think most people can agree that these actually sound individualistic, like really amazing aspects. You know, it's great to support women, it's great to support gays and lesbians, it's great to support Black people, it's great to support trans and Muslim people. All these things individualistic are really great. And in that, I can't fault the liberal platform or the Democrats whatsoever. I think just from a humanitarian standpoint, these are all wonderful aspects to support. So that is not at all where my issue comes in. My issue comes in with the fact that if we just look at these things now, in a comparative sense, they do not work commutatively. And that is where, for me, the liberal platform falls apart. All right? So, let's start with gay and lesbians, okay? Muslims are against gay and lesbian rights. All right? So right here, I'm going to write Muslims. So already we have a first situation here. So liberals, they want to support Muslims, but they also want to support gay and lesbians. But those two things are at least partially in conflict of each other, because people who actually want to follow their faith in Islam, they have to reject homosexuality because it is a sin, and in countries like Saudi Arabia, who actually follow Sharia law, gay and lesbians have to be put to death. So here already is a problem. With the liberal platform, it doesn't make sense. Blacks. The Black community is predominantly much more homophobic than the Caucasian community in the US. And Black people predominantly voted against gay marriage. So here's another conflict. Okay? Trans people. I would actually argue that trans and gay people are now at a part where they're going to start splitting. All right? The liberals tell us, and this is something I do believe in, that you're born gay. That this is something that you can't change. That this is something that is intrinsically a part of you, and it's beautiful, and you should support it. But now trans people are saying that, let's say there's a lesbian woman, and then there is a trans woman. And if this lesbian woman will not sleep with a trans woman who potentially still have male genitalia, she's transphobic. Well, that doesn't make sense if liberals are going to say lesbians were born this way, to be attracted to female bodies, to be attracted to women. If you're a trans woman and you're not completely transitioned, you're not inhabiting a female body. So now you want to support trans people, but you also want to support lesbians. Well, should a lesbian have to sleep with a trans woman who still has male genitalia? Even though you're telling lesbians that they're born to be attracted to female genitalia? So here, there's another conflict. Okay? This is just this first box. All right, let's skip one. Let's go to healthcare. Okay, we have the body positivity movement. Well, the body positivity movement is now encompassing people who are severely obese. Well, that's going to raise healthcare issues. And if you're going to say everybody is going to have to pay into healthcare, you're saying that we now have to pay into healthcare for people that are living unhealthy lifestyles and making unhealthy choices. Well, then these two things don't work together. The only way universal anything works, the only way socialism works is if nobody takes advantage of the system. And if you have people here where you're encouraging them, get as fat as you want, be as unhealthy as you want, it's okay, well then everybody else is going to have to eat the healthcare cost. Again, we have things that don't work well together. All right? Okay, let's look at something else. Let's look at women really quick. We are now trying to support women. We're trying to say, let's bring women forth. Let's do all these great things for women. Well, here's another big contrast. Women and trans. I did it in my last video. I said, we have a lot of things now that are on the table about creating safe spaces for women. If we now have people that can self-identify as trans, then have to be recognized as trans. There was I'm sorry, I forget if it was Australia or if it was in Canada. There was a male rapist who was sent to jail, and then I said that he identified as trans and was sent to a women's jail, where guess what happened? He started harassing and sexually assaulting women. How are you going to say you're supporting women if then you're also going to say you have to 100% support trans women? You can't. These two things are in conflict. Same thing with Muslims. You know, I know a lot of people, they want to say, oh, everything is great, everything is great. I live in Saudi Arabia. I'm telling you, yes, are there Muslims, Christians, Jewish people, Buddhists, who don't completely follow their faith all the way through? Absolutely. But if you want to call yourself a tried and true Muslim and you follow the Quran word for word, then you are not pro-women. Women are secondary in all Judeo-Christian faiths. That's just a fact. If you read the scriptures, women don't have the right to speak in church. Women have to be secondary to their husbands. In Islam, women have to cover, their body to whatever degrees. Some say it only has to be the hair, some say it has to be the face, but these are all things that go against the support of women. So here we have another thing. Doesn't make sense together. It doesn't work. Okay, body positivity moment. This is another thing where I think that, okay, sorry, I'm getting old. Can't sit like that for a long time. Body positivity movement. So one of the things that the men and women within the body positivity movement are constantly saying is that they want a fair representation of normal bodies in the media, in TV, in movies. That sounds great. That sounds like when a lot of people go like, wow, that's the way it should be. Not everybody on TV should be gorgeous and should be a size 2. We should have a fair distribution of what people look like. Let's say the average woman is somewhere between an 8 and a 16 or something like that. Well, if 60% of U.S. women are between an 8 and a 16, then that should be reflected in media and something. Okay. That is fair. Great argument. But now what's going to happen? If we want to say we're going to have to look at averages, well, guess what? We need to have a lot less gay people on TV. Because what is it? They're saying at the high end, 10% of people in the world are gay? Well, if we are now saying the other thing that liberals want is diversity, diversity, diversity. In every TV show, there has to be a black person, there has to be a trans person, there has to be a gay person, there has to be a woman. I mean, sorry, we can't do that. it's not representative. So if we're going to say here, we need to be representative of what is true in the real world, well, guess what? This is working against gay people. It's working against black people who are what, 30% in the US? It's working against trans people. It's working against Muslims in the US for sure. They're a very small minority. So again, more conflict. Immigration, great. I actually personally am pro-immigration, but guess what? Who loses out when low-cost workers come into the country? Predominantly the black community. So here, again, we have a problem. Immigration hurts the black community a lot more than it does the white community. You know, I can keep going in circles and circles and showing you guys how these things don't interact. But this is one of my main issues with the liberal platform. You know, they're trying to collect every single possible minority and just go like, oh, we just care about everybody. But the problem is you have conflict within your own party. It just doesn't make any sense. You cannot stand for everybody equally. It doesn't work. They are in direct conflict with each other. And we are seeing this more and more in the liberal society, where now, you know, J.K. Rowling, a woman, she's now being said that she's a horrible person because she said something about wanting women's spaces for trans people, for women who were born women, not for trans women, you know, and now can't support her anymore. You know, we have Candace Owen. She's a black woman, but she said that she doesn't feel comfortable with immigration. Well, now all of a sudden, this person who's supposed to be supported under liberals, whoosh, she has to get kicked out because she doesn't follow the group anymore. Me personally, I am a gay man. And then I say that I personally don't agree with universal health care. Well, whoosh, now I have to get kicked out of the liberal platform. So right now, the only weapon or the only tactic that the liberal platform has is to literally say, you have to agree with all of these things, even though they're in direct conflict with each other, or we have to kick you out of our party. So it doesn't make sense. Rather than using logic and realizing that the things that you are supporting within your own party aren't working together and that you can't have it all. We don't live in a utopian world. That's just the way it is. You need to somewhere go, okay, we can do this, but this can't be done. We can do this, and this can't be done. And this is one of the, this more than anything is what really has turned me away from the liberal platform. I personally cannot recognize and cannot, that's not the right word, not recognize. I, in my head, cannot bring these things onto a field where I can accept them all. Because to me, there's just too many things that don't work well together. And if you are not in any way, shape, or form willing to pretend and play along and say that all these things are just honky-dory and work well together, then you get kicked out of the party. For me personally, it just makes much more sense to take every issue as it comes, rather than be like, oh my God, there's a new minority in the world. Let's just take them right into the Democratic Party. Let's just take them on into the Liberal Party without even for 1 minute going, oh, how is that going to hurt our original constituents? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, there's a new minority, we're going to take them in. If it pisses off anybody over here or over here, well, then we're just going to kick them out. And what is the ideology of a party that does that? I mean, you can't stab women in the back just because all of a sudden trans people came around. If this is like one of your first groups that you were supporting, if black people were one of the first groups you were supporting, then you can't all of a sudden just be like, okay, well, now all the black people need to move over because now all of a sudden we want to bring immigration into our party. It just doesn't work. And there's just a complete lack of logic in it. And it really bothers me that liberals are just so unaware and so unwilling to realize that the things that they're saying, they don't make sense to each other. A specific example I want to talk about right now is that I just recently found out that both a YouTuber that I used to follow, but he's become increasingly left, just converted to Islam. And then on Facebook the other day, a friend of mine, he has a trans woman who also said that she just converted to Islam. And it just doesn't I don't understand what they're trying to do if they're outside of maybe wanting to get as many minority points as they possibly can. It's kind of like, okay, now I'm black and I'm gay and I'm trans and I'm Muslim and I'm handicapped, I'm overweight, and then like now nobody in any way, shape, or form is allowed to judge me or anything. But the thing is, like, it literally doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I would love to hear your guys' feedback. I would love to get some feedback from liberals and them explaining to me how all these opposing factions, how they are supposedly going to work together, how they think you can really 100% support women or 100% support gays and lesbians or 100% support Muslims, and at the same time support all of these other factions, even though they are in conflict with each other. So, if you identify as liberal and you think that these things make sense together, by all means, please leave a comment, because I would love to know how you think that it works. Alright, so that's it. Any feedback, comments? Thank you, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.